Alright, so we finally finished Saints Row. Saints Row Reboot, Saints Row 2022. So, what is my final verdict on the game? Well, overall, I think it's just meh, honestly. I think it's just pretty disappointing in my opinion because the more I think about it, the more I was sitting on it because it's been a couple of days since I've beaten it and I've played it, I've finished recording of it. It's just it just doesn't have that same exact feel for it overall because I just also feel when thinking on it, like with the tone that they was bringing and the characters that they were showing, this is more based more towards people who are gonna grow up with this if this goes forward than for me where I grew up with Saints Row, but that was back when it came out in the mid to late 2000s, like within that era when it was kind of like, bubbling and building its rep up from those games. So I feel like it's kind of gonna be more for those people than for me, but I just kind of also feel like it just didn't hit overall because I mean, like, it kept the humor, it kept what it originally is based off of being silly, being goofy, being satire on certain things and referencing certain things, but it just, I don't know, it just feels like some of the same beats in a way when you think about it. It just feels like it's not doing anything to push itself forward into a better direction to kind of say like, oh, like this is something that I definitely could be playing for months and months and months. You're not really gonna be playing this for that long, honestly. Like, I mean, you'll play it online with your friends and you'll have a good time because you're with your friends or whoever. But I just feel like I don't think really a lot of people are gonna be rocking with this that long as they should. And so the story, like, the story is just like whatever. The more I'm sitting on it, like it was cool at first with some of the epic moments, like in the beginning when we're Marshall and we're trying to catch Nawale, and then also with the train heist of trying to do that, and then also with what else was it? It was the train, it was the prison, and there was another one. It was when we ended up seeing Sergio for the first time. That was cool. Was us leaping from vehicle to vehicle while we were kind of like on that transport. Like, I thought those were pretty cool, but other than that, like, I don't think it was still enough to make me feel like, oh shit, like this is gonna be super epic. Like, this is definitely gonna be on a high scale of, solid games for the year. I just didn't feel that. Characters, like, I think in the end, the characters just didn't draw me in. Like I said, I felt Nina was pretty much a standout for me because of her backstory. Kev, on the other hand, I just wasn't really rocking with like that. It was just like whatever, especially with one of the missions that we did with him. I was like, are we really fucking doing this? And then Eli was the one I was looking at the most because of just how I was seeing him and just thinking about previous Saints Row characters in the past. And I also brought up the fact with Eli that they had characters they have a character like him who is African American but also seems like he's a smart type of guy. Like, he's like, yo, you don't have to shoot through your problems and stuff like that. And I also remember there was another character named Dex in the first Saints Row because he was the one that always kind of had sort of like, it's almost like he was trying to be clear-headed as well, because I totally forgot about him. Which, by the way, he was also in Saints Row 2, which kind of makes me think I wish they would have finished that story with him going into Saints Row the Third, but because they went into a different direction, I don't know the full conclusion with it. So I definitely would like to know if they had a plan with that fully when they were going into Saints Row the Third, since it kind of did sort of like a 180 and just went completely like, let's do this instead of doing that. And so, which gave them the identity that they needed in the end with Saints Row the Third. Okay, I just wanted to bring this up. This is future me talking right now. I wanted to talk about Dex just a little bit more in this last part before we move forward with it, because I was looking up Dex and I was just curious just with the character, and then when I was looking him up, he does actually get killed within the series, but it was actually in a canceled game called Saints Row Money Shot, of what I'm looking up right now. And we would have been controlling a character named Cypher, who is an assassin that was dispatched by Ultor to go out and kill different types of people, and Dex was one of them. And that would make a lot of sense on why our boss character wouldn't be interested of going after him anymore, because it seemed like it looked like the boss character was gonna go after him, but the Cypher character was the one that pretty much takes him out. And also Dex also kind of comes back as well in Saints Row Gat Out of Hell, where you can either kill him with Johnny Gat or Kinsey Kensington in Hell. So it just makes a whole lot of sense why he wouldn't be referenced, because I actually didn't know this until I actually read this, so that's kind of the reason why I'm bringing this up. But I just wanted to bring this up with you guys because I was reading it, and there you go. And so, but with the characters, like, but going back to Eli real quick, yeah, it was just, I was looking at Eli like crazy, and then after that, when we did one of his missions, I was like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, is this really Saints Row? That's how I was feeling about it. Is this really Saints Row? And that was one of the biggest things that really stuck out with me with the character, and was really becoming a bit of a red flag when we was doing the mission. I think you know which one I'm talking about if you've seen my playthrough or anyone else's playthrough. And so, and you know, and then with the gangs, I just don't, like, we're going after the gangs, and yeah, we have a connection with the gangs, but it feels like the idols weren't really much of a big importance when I think about it. The Panteros didn't really feel as big as I thought they were, even though they felt probably closer to classic Saints Row gangs that we had to go up against as adversaries. They feel like the closest. And Marshall, to me, like I said, I brought it up in the playthrough that Marshall just felt like, you know, another version of Ultor, just with their tech and their vehicles and all the stuff that they had, because they felt tough. And I will get into the AI in a second. And so, like, it just felt like they were just there, because I felt like the real main point eventually in the end was Nawale, with the end up twist that we ended up dealing with him at the end, which I called and kind of felt that, okay, this is something that he's probably gonna do, and he did it. And I was like, I kind of knew this, so it wasn't really surprising. Now with the gameplay, I wasn't too worried about it, because I brought this up in my reaction when I was getting ready to get the game, that I wasn't really too worried about how it was gonna play, because I thought it was still gonna be fun. It was gonna be goofy, it was gonna be stupid in certain moments, where you can change your weapons, you can mod them into different type of weapons and stuff, which I still think is, you know, pretty nice of them still doing that type of stuff. But there were moments where the vehicles, I'm gonna get that to in a second too, the guns freaking glitched out for some reason, where I was using one of the it was like one of the firework rocket launchers, and for some reason it just didn't want to shoot. I don't know what the hell happened. I kind of forgot what happened, but it ended up happening, and I couldn't use it anymore, and I couldn't switch out my weapons. I was like, what the fuck is going on? So I had to rely on that weapon. And so that pretty much was like a bug type thing that Volition, yeah, I gotta get y'all fucking shit together on that, which I will get to in that in a second as well. And so that was pretty like something. And then with the perks, where certain ways of trying to get particular perks, like I kind of just felt like some of these perks, like I would just make them levels instead of just trying to like do different challenges and try to build the stuff up. Why don't you just, you know, have certain levels where it has these perks and you can automatically get it, instead of just doing all this damn work, because I didn't do all the fucking challenges like that. I wasn't really paying attention to it, because I stopped looking at it like halfway through, and I was like, I don't really care about this. And skills, it was just, you know, whatever with some of the skills, because again, just like the challenges with the perks, like I just didn't care about all those skills, because I wasn't going to utilize it like that. And 9 times out of 10, I didn't really utilize like that outside of using grenades and stuff like that. And so it was just kind of fucking weird of just having that. Now, I will say I did like using the vehicles with like side swiping the other vehicles, because I thought that was cool, because it was like an alternative of me trying to shoot people. So I really liked that a lot, which when I think about it now, we did not do one drive-by in this game. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think I saw one drive-by. And this is Saints Row, where it was based off of the urban gangster like feel of bless me. it was built off the urban gangster like feel of the Crime Time stuff that we had in the early and mid and almost going into the late 2000s, and we did not see one drive-by. So it kind of just made more sense now that I'm thinking about it, where Eli brought up in one of the scenes where we're trying to be more than a street gang. So it's just like, man, like, the more I think about it, the more that makes a lot of sense between one drive-by. Now, with the technicality part of the technicality part with the game, like, I felt like this game is really, really buggy. It was very, very glitchy. Because, like I said, with one of the weapons, I couldn't shoot it like the way I could, and I just couldn't change my weapons afterwards for some odd reason when some of the stuff happened. The AI didn't want to come towards me at all when I was doing one of the missions where it was far from my shooting range, where I had to move up close, but if I move too close, it's going to take me out of the area where I got to stay in, or I'm going to have a mission failed and I got to start over. And I didn't think about using grenades, but I ended up realizing, like, you know what, let me just start this over. If I would have used grenades, I would have, but I wasn't thinking. But I still feel like, why the fuck do we still gotta do all this? Like, it should still work without us trying to do all this fucking work. And so it's just kind of weird that, you know, yeah, you can restart it, but you still had that happen in the game. And then there was a moment in the game where I clipped through the fucking floor. Like, I was like, wow, I've never had that shit happen to me in any type of sandbox game ever. But I clipped through the fucking floor. I wasn't even recording it. I was playing this off camera when I was probably trying to do some of the side stuff off camera because I didn't want to show all of it because of padding. And that ended up happening. And then I ended up hearing about what other people and what they dealt with certain things that they got stuck with the game, with certain skills where you use one of the skills, but it just doesn't work. And so it's just like, man, Volition, you really gotta get this shit straight if you really want this game to be what it is. And I also want to bring up the character customization. Honestly, it didn't blow me away. Honestly, like that, like the hairstyle that I had for my character, like, honestly, I would not wear that in real life, because when you try to make a character, you want to make it you want to make it the person that, you know, you want to make it yourself. And so when I was trying to make my character, I just was like, man, I don't know if I'm feeling it. And then when I got to the voice, I wasn't really feeling it. Until certain moments when I did start to hear my character talk in certain, you know, points where they have their quips and their quotes and stuff like that. I was like, okay, this character sounds cool. But there was moments within the cutscenes where I was like, this ain't hitting. This ain't it. Nothing against the voice actors or voice actresses. You guys are doing a hell of a job. Keep doing the good work. It's just, it didn't work for me, honestly. And it was just, you know, whatever in the end. And it's just like, overall, it just wasn't hitting. It just kind of makes me think, why the hell did they want to make this a reboot? Like, you just continue with what you already had with the games that you had afterwards. Like, I understand not trying to do the same thing, but you could have kind of like started over in a way, did sort of a soft reboot, but bring the old characters back, but put them in different places, in different roles within the game. That's why I brought that up before in the reactions, because I felt like if you at least do that, at least it's a different spot. It's a different type of like slice of life that you can have with some certain characters, because certain things probably won't work nowadays because of how society is, which I'm okay with. Again, like I said, you have to end up evolving into something more than what you were when you started, or you're gonna become complacent. Which I feel like what this game kind of is in a way. It's a bit complacent because it feels like it's not really doing anything new, especially with the gameplay, because you feel like you played this before. And I know, and there's been several people that have said that. It just feels like, you know, a bit of kind of way of the same thing, in a way. And so, it just, to me, this is just really a disappointing game. I don't think this is a bad game. I don't think this is a good game. I think this is a meh, in between, middle of the road type game that if you want to give it a shot, honestly, wait for this to go on Game Pass, PlayStation Plus, or wait for a price drop. Do not buy this for $60. I don't think this is worth buying for $60, because I don't think this is a bad game. There's just certain stuff that they tried to do, they tampered with it, and this is the product that we got. And it's just a shame, because I think I've heard that the CEO from one of the companies that worked on this game, that had a hand in this game, said that this game is a failure. Like, they really just lost faith in it because they feel like they're not going to make the money back that they had put in for this game, which is a shame because this is the decisions that you guys made. You felt you wanted to do a reboot, and this is what you got. And so it's just unfortunate. So honestly, like I said, final verdict, disappointing game. This isn't really worth the $60 to buy. To me, this is kind of like a 3 out of 5 stars in my opinion. And again, like I said, this is a middle of the road. This is more something that you can, if you could rent it, I would say rent it. I would not recommend this to Saints Row fans like that. Well, I could recommend it if you want to give it a shot because you're a fan, but outside of that, I don't think a lot of fans are going to be rocking with this. And even newer people who wants to give this a shot, I don't know if I can really recommend this to them either, only if I can recommend those 3 particular things that I said just a second ago with the price drop, PlayStation Plus, or Game Pass. That's the only thing I can do. I can't recommend any other way for you guys to play this. And so it is what it is of what they did. And funny enough, as much as them doing this whole reboot and trying to redo things and trying to start over, I actually kind of prefer DMC Devil May Cry. And that was a reboot itself, and people were pissed when they did that. But at least with that, I kind of felt like I enjoyed what I played, and I took away something from it because I felt like the gameplay was good, like the platforming was well, and it felt a bit more simplistic of what they were trying to do. And the story was actually okay when I think about it, because it made me care about certain characters in the end, because I was like, oh shit, even though it took from particular Devil May Cry games, but I still enjoyed what I played. I don't think they should have rebooted it, but this is what I like, and I was like, okay, I appreciate the attempt of what you did. Just don't try to make a sequel out of it. That's why we got Devil May Cry 5 now. And so, you know, it is what it is. Which is kind of crazy with that one because like they was doing well with Devil May Cry 4 and they just randomly decided like, hey, let's reboot this. It was just like, why are you doing this? And this is the same thing here with Saints Row. Like, why are y'all rebooting Saints Row? Even though Saints Row 4 was sort of like a bit of a jump in the full shark with it because it went so supernatural, and it's not really much of a Saints Row game. It's more of a Crackdown type game where it's explosions, shooting, like just over the top non-stop stuff more than this. And so I get it, but I don't think they needed to reboot it like that. But anyway, it is what it is. They did what they did. 3 out of 5 stars in my opinion of this game. And so what did you guys think? If you guys played this, if you guys seen it, did you love it? Did you hate it? And if so, what is your favorite Saints Row game in the series? So far, I think 2 is my favorite because of the story, the character customization with that, and even though the gameplay is a bit janky nowadays compared to when it first came out, and it is janky because I'm gonna give that more of my favoritism towards Saints Row 3rd, because that's where it kind of like they found their footing and identity with that game. But I just like Saints Row 2 because of just everything that they did with it, and I just appreciate it. And actually, before I go with going back a bit to the character customization, I felt like I did more with the character customization in Saints Row 2 than I did with this particular game, because there was certain outfits that I was trying to figure out how to have my character. I was just kind of like, all right, do I want to have this? Do I want to have that? But, you know, it is what it is of what they were giving me, but it's just certain stuff that I can't relate to because this isn't really like my era anymore. This is pretty much the era of people who are around their teens, eventually about to become 21. That's pretty much the era of this generation. Me, I'm, you know, a bit older, so like it's just not fit for me. And I think that's probably why I was just like not feeling the voice of my character and a bit of the look of my character in a way. Because Tranquilla, if she was here, she would tell you that that's how I was feeling, because she was right behind me when I was doing the first part. She was seeing me record what I was recording, and she can tell that I was not feeling what I was hearing with my voice, with my character's voice in the game. So, but like I said, it is what it is. Like, if you want to try it, wait for a price drop, get it on PlayStation Plus, or Game Pass whenever it comes to there. But don't buy this for $60. It's not worth $60 at all. So, anyway, like I said, what's your favorite Saints Row game in the series if you played any of them? So, yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't want to continue rambling because I feel like I'm going to lose myself if I keep doing that. But anyway, that's all I got to say. I've already installed the game to move on to other things. With that being said, I am Prinatious. I'll see you guys next time. Later.